That's where the best returns have been. A NASDAQ 100 is composed of the S&P or as opposed to the Dow Jones. And if we can own stocks that outperform the NASDAQ, we're going to have a great portfolio.
오늘은 이번 주 초반에 짚어봤던 스노우플레이크라는 기업에 대해서 다시 한번 들어보도록 할 텐데 티커명은 스노우라는 이쁜 이름을 갖고 있는 기업이죠. 데이터가 눈꽃송이처럼 내려온다는 의미를 갖고 있는 기업입니다. 클라우드 데이터 플랫폼 기업이고 스노우플레이크가 어떤 일을 하는지 다시 한번 짚어주시죠.
Well, Snowflake, we talked about, is a cloud-based data warehousing platform that allows for data storage, then it performs processes on the data. And Snowflake also provides analytic solutions to be able to analyze the data to generate good decisions based on that. Companies use Snowflake for data integration, for advanced analytics. They use it because it's got great security, and they use it because it's got great governance. So Snowflake provides things Snowflake provides the ability for customers to access the data and provide tools to use that data, third-party tools to use that data in a much cheaper, more effective basis. So if we think about like IT and all that, and how when Uber did their first application, you know, that little Uber app, I think you guys have Uber over in Korea. It's the taxi service. And that app costs $500,000 to build. An app today only costs $25,000 to $50,000 to build. So that's what Snowflake's doing. It's providing access to data and analytics to data on a much cheaper basis than had been done before.
네, 전보다 더 적은 돈으로 더 많은 양의 데이터를 활용하게 해주는 그런 플랫폼 기업이고요. 그렇다면 지금 이 스노우플레이크에 대해서 지금 차기 먹거리, 미래 시장인 것 같은데 스노우플레이크에 대한 경쟁 업체는 어떤 것들이 있을까요?
So the way I think about it is the stock price of Snowflake is a proxy for what's going on in the high growth cloud computing industry. Amazon, Microsoft, Google. We've talked about Arista, we've talked about other stocks before. So if the cloud computing industry, which is growing so fast, is a good measure of something you want to be in, Snowflake stock should be able to reflect that. And although, we talked about this also last time, although Amazon and Microsoft could have their own analytics and do have their own analytics to some extent, let's call this a competition model where Amazon and Microsoft are okay with Snowflake providing some of this third-party analytics because they know that Snowflake does it better than they would do. Snowflake does it, it compiles the data better, it analyzes the data better, and it shares the data more efficiently. 40% of the Fortune 500 are moving away from on-premises data because the data is getting so big. And that's at the expense of companies like Oracle and IBM, and they're moving it into the cloud. Say, for example, Pfizer right now is, they use Snowflake to be able to analyze the data that they get for COVID and to be able to analyze how effective the medication is, the antibodies are to be able to prevent the spread of COVID. So, and we talked about it before, Upstart can be using data that's sold by somebody else, stole by an insurance company, to be able to access that data. So you as an owner of your data, you as the customer, and you use Snowflake, other people can use Snowflake to be able to access your data. So you can sell that same data to other people, and everybody's able to work on it at the same time. One thing that's really interesting, say for example, we think about Netflix, okay? Netflix uses Snowflake, Netflix is in the cloud, Amazon's in the cloud with them, and Amazon makes money when Netflix has customers that come in because Netflix is storing all the streaming data in the cloud. So there's so many different ways that Snowflake is involved with all these customers. The customers of Amazon, Microsoft, they're huge customers, but Snowflake has 1 million customers.
지금 이 스노우플레이크 종목이 작년 9월에 데뷔했기 때문에 지금 상장한 지 1년 정도가 조금 넘어가는 시점이거든요. 그동안의 주가 흐름도 짚어주시죠.
So Snowflake went public in September of 2020. The company was founded in 2012. It became it started to take customers and became a more like publicly noted company, not went public, but became a company that the public started to know about in 2014. So the company's had a little bit of a history, 6 years of a history before it went public. People know that the stock is so interesting. The stock came out at $120 a share, and in the first day, it rallied up to $319 and came back down and closed at $258. So there was a bit of a valuation, let's call it overestimation, coming out of the chutes. Snowflake, they have a lot of customers, but they don't have that many yet. They have now 116 customers that spend $1 million a year. They added 12 more new customers last quarter. They added 8 a year ago. They added 27. I'm sorry, 8 a quarter ago. They added 27 last year. So they're still growing pretty quickly. If we look at the stock price in the last, say, I'm going to say since October of last year, you can see a bit of a rally here, and then the price declined, and now it started to rally back up. The price declined into May when a lot of software stocks got hurt. But if we look at where the stock has been just since April, May, now you can start to see that the company is it's gained its footing. People have been able to see it because it's been trading publicly now for almost a year, and the stock started to do well. If we compare it on this chart to the NASDAQ 100, just since that same period, you can see that there's a lot more volatility in Snowflake than there is in the NASDAQ, and it's started to catch back up. But I believe we want to measure Snowflake from the May lows and to be able to start to take a look at that. So that's the point where now I think things should start to be consistent. We've had almost a year. So many times we get involved, or the market experiences a company that starts out so strong, and then people start to worry about the valuation. They don't pay that much attention to it, and then within a year it starts to do better. If we look at and compare the stock to Google, okay, and we look at Snowflake as a percentage of Google's price, we can see here that Snowflake has underperformed Google all the way to August. But I think that tide's starting to turn, and Snowflake now is going to start to outperform the market. As long as we can say that, that's a daily chart right there, because we only have a year's worth of data, and the red line is a 100-day moving average. As long as I can stay above that 100-day moving average, I'm in a stock that's outperforming the NASDAQ. When I look at Amazon, so we took a look at two of their large cloud computing companies, and we can see now how Snowflake, again, starting in late July, has started to outperform Amazon. Same kind of thing. I think it's a very positive setup. When we look at the NASDAQ 100, we can see the same thing. It's actually started a little sooner in July. So I believe we want to stay with stocks that outperform the NASDAQ 100, because I think that's the benchmark that the market's really moving to, because that's where the best returns have been. A NASDAQ 100 is composed of the S&P or as opposed to the Dow Jones. And if we can own stocks that outperform the NASDAQ, we're going to have a great portfolio.
네, 스노우플레이크를 구글과 나스닥 차트와 비교하여서 지금까지 어떤 주가 흐름을 가졌는지 체크해봤습니다. 그렇다면 앞으로는 어떤 주가를 형성할지도 궁금한데요. 주가 전망도 함께 짚어주시죠.
Well, I never really know where things go in the future per se. I just want to collect good stocks and have them do better. But if you asked me to bet, I would say no. I would say, I think the stock's going up, and I don't think the stock's going to set back. And I think the last year was the difficult time for Snowflake because it had to get its valuation centered, and now it's starting to outperform. So if we believe that Amazon and Walmart are gonna, Amazon and Microsoft are gonna start to outperform the market, then Snowflake, which I think is going to outperform Amazon and Microsoft, I think that stock's just a buy. That's my stupid opinion about where I think the thing is. I think it's going to go higher by the end of the year, and I don't believe we're going to see 184.
네, 지금이 저가 매수의 기회다라고 말씀해 주셨습니다. 올해 말까지 조금 더 큰 주가의 상승을 예견하고 계시고요. 그렇다면 마지막으로 스노우플레이크에 대한 투자 포인트까지 짚어주시죠.
Well, let's say we like the cloud computing industry, because I think the cloud computing industry is where we're going to be for the next 5 to 7 years. And that's why Amazon has done so well and Microsoft has done so well in the last 5 years, because they've become cloud computing companies. Snowflake is special because what it does is it can take widely fragmented data and allow customers to gain insight to that data to make good decisions without having a big IT staff and without having to have a lot of query language experience. So I think Snowflake's a big innovator. And one of the things I haven't talked about before, the market capitalization of Snowflake is $97 billion. To me, it's always so critical when the founding people of the company, the significant players in that company, own a substantial amount of that stock. And the president owns 5% of that stock. 5% of $97 billion is a lot of money. So he's got a serious vested interest to be able to make sure that that stock is going to do better. And at $5 billion, he has to be a believer.
고수익 작전 타임에서 만나는 버니의 미국 주식. 서학개미를 위한 미국 주식 투자 완전 정복. 38년 경력의 베테랑 월가 트레이더 버나드 케인. 매주 화요일, 금요일 오전 7시 50분. 미국에서 생생하게 전하는 버니의 진짜 미국 주식. 고수익 작전 타임에서 만나보세요.